Hello, everyone. This is Coach Sarah live for Complete Performance Coaching. If you are not live with us, I hope you are doing well. I am one of the team members of Complete Performance Coaching. There are a handful of really excellent, well-trained mental skills coaches available to help your athletes with their mental skills. And today I'm addressing a question that I get quite a bit. Parents email me this often about what can I do if I think my athlete would benefit from working with you or being a member of the online community and they're not really interested, they're not into it? Or a related question, what if I've talked to them about it and they just don't want to do it? So some of you watching might already be a member of our Perform Happy community. If you're not, that's the online portion of our training. We also have one-on-one training. And so when your athlete is already there, that's fantastic. They're hopefully warmed up to the idea of mental skills training. You might feel like one-on-one work is the next step. And so they're more open to that. But even if your athlete is already in our community, they might be a little nervous about the idea of working one-on-one with a mental skills coach. And that's very normal. So we really want to help you understand how to talk to your athletes about mental skills training. And if you are not familiar with us yet, your family is not involved in our online community, let's start off with what is mental skills training. So as you probably already know, whether or not you're familiar with the idea of sports psychology or mental skills training, sport is both physical and mental. I work with gymnasts quite a bit, and so for a sport like gymnastics, it is very mental. Being confident, being focused, bouncing back after mistakes, handling pressure, communicating with coaches, reaching your goals, all of that is the mental side of sport. And there's more to it, but those are some of the things that we tend to see. Dealing with fear, that's a big one in gymnastics, unfortunately. That's the mental side of sport. And so when we work with athletes, we're helping them develop or refine their use of mental skills. So we might teach skills and strategies like breathing to calm down, or some thought control strategies if they're feeling really negative or frustrated or lacking confidence. And we also help your athletes identify skills that they're already using, because if they've been in sport for a while, they've got some mental skills. They've developed some mental toughness. They just might not be aware of it yet. So we want to help them figure out what they're doing already and help to make it better. So that's a little bit of what mental skills training is. It's working on the mental side of sport, developing and refining the mental skills that are going to help them not always improve their performance. That's great, but really it's about improving the thoughts, the feelings, the experience, and then that's what can ultimately help performance. And part of why I love working with youth athletes, and I know a lot of our coaches feel the same way, is that these skills are life skills. So even though we're talking a lot about sport in the gym or on the field, these are skills that they can use in other areas of life as well. So if you are bringing this up with your athlete, if they're a little bit uncertain, it's also important to sort of understand what mental skills training isn't. So we know what it is. Mental skills training isn't therapy. Now, there is nothing wrong with therapy. Therapy is hugely fantastic and really appropriate sometimes, but for mental skills training, it's not therapy. And I think that's an important distinction, because sometimes, unfortunately, we have this stigma of both therapy and even mental skills training, like there's something wrong with you if you're going to do it. And that's not the case at all. I think there's actually something really right with you if you want to develop yourself fully as an athlete or as a person. So you or your athlete might kind of have this concern that's holding you back from getting started of, well, is there something wrong with me? And maybe, I'm not ready to admit that. So I don't want to work with a mental skills coach. But the way I like to talk about this, and you could do this with your kids, is that, if they needed help in math, you'd get them a tutor, right? Or you'd have them spend some time with their teacher. If they got injured, you go to a doctor. There's lots of support for athletes, and we as mental skills coaches are one part of that. So again, as a parent, you might know, my athlete needs some help. They need some support. Physically things are going well, but then there's maybe a mental block holding them back. They're scared of certain skills, or they do really well in practice, but then they just can't get it all together in a meet or competition. So I know they can do these skills, but something is going on. So you might realize, mental skills training would be great for my athlete. So the question is then, how can I sell my kids on the idea? So that's part of what we like to help you with. Now, we don't want you to have to do a hard sell and really push your kids into this, but sometimes they need help warming up to the idea. And again, we have great options because they can join our community and start there in kind of this really supportive group environment with other athletes. They can work one-on-one with us, or they can do both. So you know your athlete best in terms of what's going to help start the conversation and open them up to this idea of mental skills training. But timing of the conversation, I think of any conversation, but especially this mental skills training conversation, the timing of it can be hugely helpful. So consider starting this type of conversation in the car. I love car rides for conversations because, one, your child is trapped with you, right? They can't go anywhere. So the car is great for conversations of all kinds. Just be thoughtful about when you're doing this. If they've just had a tough day in the gym, that's probably not the car ride to bring this up on. But the car is great because they're also, if they're younger, they're sitting in the back seat, so you're not looking eye to eye. I mean, you can kind of look in your rearview mirror and maybe make some eye contact, but if they're sitting in the front seat with you side to side, those tend to be safer kind of positionings for kids, especially teens and tweens, and research has shown with the boys, when you're sitting face to face and having eye contact, that can be a little less comfortable. So having these conversations in the car allows you to kind of have a setup that your athlete might feel a little more open to talking about this. And 3, you probably spend a lot of time in the car already, so you're probably already having conversations, so your athlete might not feel it's that strange that you're bringing something up in the car. It doesn't seem like an out of the ordinary, we're having a talk, and so it doesn't add more stress or seriousness to this than it needs to be. So again, if you're feeling like your athlete is hesitant about the idea of mental skills training, or you bring it up and they're hesitant, it's important to be really positive. You know, if they've worked with a coach, a private coach of some kind, which most of our athletes have, or a physical therapist, again, compare it to that. When you need help physically, you get the support. When you need help mentally, we get you the support. So having them understand that we're just one piece of that puzzle to help them be a really strong, well-rounded athlete can help them sort of open up to this idea. So, you know, you can say, you know how you work with Coach Joe for physical therapy? Well, I found a coach for confidence and focus, or whatever areas you've noticed your athlete could use some help on, or maybe the areas that they kind of complain about. Like, I found a really great coach to help you with your fear. That's a great way to introduce it. And let them know that there are lots of professional athletes who work with mental skills coaches, and that you found someone that you can meet with. And guess what? We do free consultation calls before you have to sign up for any of our packages. So you can let your athlete know, hey, we can have a conversation with the person I found, and you can decide if this is something you want to move forward with. So I think letting your athlete have a choice and a say in it is really important. Even if you kind of know, listen, this is something we really need to do, try and let it feel like you have a choice and a say in the matter. So the other part of it is that your kids are probably going to be more open to working with someone either in our community or one-on-one if they feel comfortable and they feel like this could be a good working relationship. So the good news is we have a lot of different coaches. I'm just one of many, like I said. So you can go on our website, you can watch previous lives that we've done. Your athlete can kind of get a sense of who we are, and feel it out with which of us would you like to start with and have a conversation with, and hopefully that will feel like a good fit. So it's kind of like these little steps to warm your athlete up to the idea. Now, I know some of our parents have already signed their kids up for our Perform Happy community, but maybe you've noticed your kid's not really in there. They're a little hesitant to get started. That's okay. The community is filled with really supportive athletes. Coach Rebecca, who runs everything in there, is absolutely amazing. So that's where I think maybe encouraging them just to watch a couple of their videos, the lives or parts of the course, maybe go in and do a little research and find something that you think is really gonna like hook your kid or resonate for them, and then show that to them. That may help increase their comfort with kind of getting into the course and checking it out and see how it's going. And then once they get into it, maybe try these ideas and see how they're helping. They might get a little motivated to try. But if not, don't be afraid of incentivizing. Some people call this bribing, but I think we need to relabel it as incentivizing. And we do this for ourselves as adults, right? You're like, well, if I do all the laundry, I'm going to reward myself with, mine's a chai tea latte. I always like to reward myself with chai tea lattes, right? So we incentivize the things that we do. So incentivize your athletes. So maybe if they get involved in our Perform Happy community and they go through the lessons all week, you're going to cook a favorite meal for them at the end of the week, or you're going to take them to the movie that they've been asking you about. So, you know, don't give them this big thing for simply doing kind of the mental training that they should do, but incentivize it a bit so that they get in there, they try it out, they hopefully do the lessons, they apply the ideas, they're seeing how it's going, they're seeing some change. And then what you did, what's called extrinsic motivating, is now becoming more intrinsic. They realize like, okay, I'm seeing change, I'm feeling better, I like what's going on, I like the support, and now they're more inclined to stick with it. So don't be afraid to use that extrinsic motivation. It doesn't have to be big, it doesn't have to be ongoing, but it's kind of like that little nudge. It's like dangling that carrot that gets them going, but then you can pull that carrot back. And again, if your athletes are hesitant to do mental skills training, that's normal. Just keep talking about it, keep being positive, keep supporting them, and try it as well to get that underlying concern of why they don't want to start. Are they feeling embarrassed because of what their teammates will say? Well, guess what? Your teammates don't need to know that you're doing this. This can be your secret weapon, right? Try to figure out what it is that's making them so unsure, and then ideally you can kind of find a way to address that with them. So hopefully you've got some ideas about, how to warm your child up to the idea of mental skills training, either individually or within our community, and to kind of get them started. And as I said, that relationship is really important. So if you're wondering who your child should work with, one of the reasons I love working with Complete Performance Coaching is because we do have so many amazing people. So like I said, do a little bit of research, show them some of our past lives. We all do these here and there, and see on our website what our background, our specialties are. Find someone who's going to match up really well with your athlete. Sometimes it just comes down to our availability, because everyone is awesome, really, and can really support your athlete. And again, if your athlete is just not into it, that's okay. They might just be nervous. Starting something new can always be nerve-wracking. And tackling a challenge, that takes some mental toughness too, to admit and be like, yeah, I need some help and support. So usually once we get going, once we have a full session with our clients, if they walked in nervous or hesitant, they usually start to warm up. Some athletes take longer. We're all different, but all of our coaches have experience working with athletes who come in not super excited about it and really hesitant, and we can help them warm up to it. So again, if they're feeling uncertain, but they're willing to have a meeting with us, that's a good place to start. We can go from there. We'll build the relationship. We'll help them warm up. And athletes, if you're watching this, if you're feeling nervous, totally normal. So just to kind of wrap up with some final thoughts about if you're feeling as an athlete a little nervous about joining our community or a one-on-one session, totally normal. If you're in the community, you're certainly not the only athlete who's maybe feeling a little uncomfortable taking those steps. And again, for myself or the other coaches, we're really used to that. So we're going to help you feel comfortable, help you understand what we're here for, hopefully make it a good and positive experience for you. And just know that just like maybe when you met your gymnastics coach for the first time, or your swimming coach, or whoever, you weren't super comfortable with them right away yet, right? You don't have a relationship. So the more we work together, usually the better things get, the more comfortable you or your athlete will become. So again, for our parents, don't stress if your athlete seems a little nervous or hesitant or doesn't want to join. Just keep encouraging them, keep being positive. And if you think that working with one of us one-on-one, if you're in our community and you think that one-on-one would be a good next step, maybe your athlete's fear has really, taken over, the fear course is awesome, but one-on-one help might help those lessons sink in a little bit more. Or you're not in our community yet, but you want to try some mental skills training, and you think one-on-one would be helpful, sign up for a free 20-minute consultation with myself or one of the other colleagues. And if you have additional questions about kind of getting started, and if your athlete is unsure, we can help you with that in our initial call. So thank you for dealing with our technical difficulties. If you do have any other questions, you can definitely drop a comment in our video, and we will see you again soon. Again, this is Coach Sarah for Complete Performance Coaching. Have a great day.